Hallo en welkom bij week 4, les 2. Wij praten over eten. Hier zie je kaas. Heel veel kaas. Wij houden van kaas. Wij gaan praten over eten. So we're going to talk about food. As per usual, I will share some of the conversations, and I want us to really try getting more confident and used to translating our sentences, right? So as a beginner, you're still in the mindset of thinking in English, really having to pause and translate, also because you're still expanding your vocabulary. All good. Eventually, you will see that you think more in Dutch, or you already know how to say the answer. And the more you practice, the more you'll get used to that. But for now, we want to try to, especially if you really focus on the vocabulary lists, to really nail down these sentences, to create more confidence in creating your own sentences as well. So I will prompt you some sentences that you can try and translate while I'm here with you, as well as I really love this cheese background. As well as really relying on the knowledge that you've had so far. Okay, so do you want something to eat? These are actually all words that you have had before. Whether you can recall them right now, that might be still a challenge, right? So that is okay. How we want to nail this is really thinking about, okay, I know you, I know want, I know eat. I might forgotten what something is, okay? But still get into the habit to leave maybe something out, but like get into the habit to translate at least the parts of the sentence that you know, or add in the English word that you don't know. So, for example, I don't know something. I know that you is jij. I know want is wil or wilt. And eat is eten. To eat is eten. Okay? So, because it's a question, I have to start with my verb. So, wil jij, without the T, because jij comes after the verb. Wil jij something eten, right? Do it like that, because that really will help you to excel eventually. Now, something is eat. So the correct sentence should be, wil je or jij iets eten? Okay? Yummy is one of the favorite words in the Dutch language. This might also be my favorite lesson because I love talking about food. Okay? So yummy is actually lekker. We love the word lekker, and we always use it for food-related things. So yes, lekker. Ja, lekker. Mm. Then the next sentence is, no, I am not hungry. This one is a bit tricky because we ourselves can't be the hunger. We have a hunger. We then also say hunger and not hungry. Aside from, in English, it's hunger, change the U into an O, and then you get actually the Dutch version of this word. So try and say it yourself. And then for not, as you might have seen before, we can say niet. But in this case, we say geen, because there's only the hunger that is in this sentence. So usually sentences with just the noun and no the, so geen, de of het, will get geen. It's kind of because it's een plus a G in front, it's the opposite of saying een honger or een thee. Wil jij een thee? Nee, Ik wil geen thee. So that is kind of the opposite thing that we're going on here. Now, aside from not saying ik ben, we have to say I have. So what we get is I have no hunger, or I have not a hunger, which then goes into nee, ik heb geen honger. This one, I'm making a coffee. If we're just using this as a main verb, we get like make and say that with a Dutch pronunciation, which is maken. And obviously we end the word with an N. Now for I make, we take away the en and then we get maak. So ik maak and then a coffee is een koffie, heel goed. And then this is new as well. So want you, we have that here as well. Wil jij also is related to an oak tree or something. So we want to say oak. Oak is also one, it's like the number one. So we say that as well. So not een, maar één. The only thing that is new is that we can say, wil jij ook? So do you also want? If we're saying it short and sweet. If I wanted to add the one, it gets a tiny bit tricky, but we say, wil jij ook een? So even though we know we're talking about coffee, we need to add that because I want to, or not I, but the Dutch language needs that object that we are talking about, the coffee, right? So do you also want a coffee? But instead of saying that a coffee, I can say it. So do you also want it? Or one of it? This is A1, A2 level, okay? So that's why I've just said here, do you also want? But in English, it doesn't really make sense. So this is where we get really creative with our languages. What for lunch today? You know all the words. So this is again playing with the words. Today is vandaag. Notice that we have two A's in that one. That then becomes one. What do you want for lunch today? So what want you today for lunch? That is the sentence structure. I have to click this way, and the time will go directly after the verb subject construction. However, you will see that Dutchies will say, wat wil jij voor lunch vandaag? Out of consistency reasons for your own practice and easiness, keep it this way until you've got more of an authentic feel with the language. Next up is a new expression. I feel like having is an expression, and we say, ik heb zin in. Literally, that means I have a sentence in. As in, this is a sentence, dit is een zin. But zin also means like fun or like something nice, right? So I'm looking forward to, or I feel like having, which then translates to ik heb zin in. Wrap is the same. Avocado is the same, but Dutch pronunciation, and cheese we know. So try and translate the sentence for me. Ik heb zin in een wrap met kaas en avocado. I've added the well, so you can leave the well out, but well is one of, I put it in there because we do tend to say it a lot. So it is our emphasis word, like, oh, ik heb wel zin in een wrap met kaas en avocado. It really shows that that is a good option for us. It is like I said, an emphasis. So in English, we don't really have emphasis words. In Dutch, we do a lot. So it is kind of exaggerating without being exaggerating as such. Okay, cool. We know what groceries are. We know what this week is. So week is the same, but Dutch pronunciation. Groceries, we talking about that we have to scrap the bird as such to put our groceries in. So we start with the bird, the boat, and hopefully the rest of the word will eventually stick in. It is a bit of a tricky word, but if groceries is boodschappen, then can you finish this sentence in the right order? Kan jij deze week de boodschappen doen? So kan is our main verb, doen is our second at last, time goes before the groceries. Natuurlijk. I already said the answer right now. So of course is our way of saying like naturally. And so we say natuurlijk. Natuur on its own is nature. So it comes out of nature, like it's a habit for us, like of course, no problem. And look is like, well, on its own it means a dead body, but at the end of a longer word, it has the same kind of function as lee, like naturally, finally. Not that it's literally translated like naturally, of course, it just change into look. But like it doesn't happen all the time. So it's just how the word is built up. Lee on its own, aside different spelling a boy's name, is nothing much either, right? So don't look into it too much, but you will see that this is an ending of a word. Okay, I don't have time for this one because it's the time and you don't have a time. You also use geen. If you do know what time is, you can actually translate it right now. And time is tijd. So please write down your sentence. And then we get, nee, sorry, ik heb geen tijd. So here we see that it's quite a literal translation. Okay, so do you need something? Need is again something new. In English, you can use it directly as a verb. So you say, I need. In Dutch, need isn't a verb. It has to work together with the verb have, and then need becomes a adverb. So we say, I have a need, or I have need, basically. I have is ik heb. And need is nodig. Nodig. And we know something. And then from the supermarket, if we have from, usually we want to say van, spelled as van. To try and see if you can structure this sentence and then really compare it to the answer as well. So heb jij wat nodig of iets nodig uit de supermarkt? So these are new and I put them again in here on purpose. So you could have easily written down, heb jij iets nodig uit de supermarkt? Okay, so that is really important. Heb jij iets nodig uit de supermarkt? What is another way of saying iets? We discussed this before. So if you had what, you can definitely add that. Heb je wat nodig uit de supermarkt? And the nog is like, in this case, it kind of like apart from what I already have, right? So in this case, I'm going to the supermarket. I have this list. Do you need anything else that's not on the list? That's literally what the whole nog means in this case. So that is very important. Again, it's one of those filler words, but essentially it is a word that kind of completes to say apart from what has been said before or what already has been established. So in this case, all the other things that I already wanted from the supermarket. Okay, Can I put something on the grocery list? Grocery list is a word we already know. Something is a word that we already know. Put, in this case, is zetten. Zetten. So let's see if you can put the sentence together. And then we get, kan ik iets op de boodschappenlijst zetten? So op or on, in this case, usually when it's literally on top of something, we say op. That's why we can't say it with locations. We have to say bij, because otherwise we're literally on top of the rooftop. So here I can still use op. Last sentence. What are we going to eat tonight? We know going, we know eat. We don't have to translate are here, right? We say, what go we tonight eat? That's what we say. Tonight, you might want to think about the word for evening, which you already know. Avond. And then tonight, we put actually the van, the V-A-N there. So I said uit de supermarkt. So you can either say van de supermarkt or uit de supermarkt. So out of the supermarket. But I use again van for vanavond, which means this evening or from this evening on. Yeah. So then the sentence will become, wat gaan we vanavond eten? Very good. Okay, I'm just gonna erase this little thing here. Then we're going into some new sentences. So now we're going to do it the other way around, where we have a couple of sentences and I want you to translate them into English. So pause this video, write the sentences down. You can write them down in your notebook. You can just go ahead and do what you think is best. But I reckon you are super duper able to translate these sentences. So again, we have wat vind je lekker? We already know wat vind je leuk. So leuk is when we talk about activities or what we really like doing. Lekker is when I want you to know what you like to eat. So it's lekker we use when I'm referring to food, and leuk I'm using to refer to like activities or what I like to do. So what do you like? But then food related. And then you see the same construction here. And obviously this means I like Italian food. We know this sentence. What do you love? Houden van. And then the answer is, I love Asian food. Now, we have a similar sentence here, but then asked in a question. So rather than an open ending asking like, oh, what do you like? We now asking, do you like Mexican food? Right? And then I can say, oh, I really like burritos. So super is one of those add-on words that because like I super like burritos. I really like burritos. So we like to use super or heel, Heel. Then it's separated to elaborate really. And or an answer could be, no, I eat more likely stamppot. So this is a new one. So I prefer to eat or I would rather eat. So this is kind of a comparison, right? Like Mexican food compared to stamppot. Stamppot is probably the most famous Dutch dinner dish. It's basically mashed potatoes, gestampte aardappelen in a deep plate, in a deep board. You put a little hole in there with a spoon, so you can put some gravy in there, jus. And the mashed potatoes are also filled with like veggies. So it could be wortel, carrot, it could be andijvie, endive, it could be boerenkool, kale. etc. Oh, and zuurkool, sauerkraut. So those are the four famous varieties of stamppot. You add the jus, and then you usually add either this typical Dutch sausage, a Nederlandse rookworst, so it's smoked sausage, or you add like spekjes, which are like little super crispy pieces of bacon as such. All right. En obviously, wij eten dit in de winter. Wij eten dit in de winter. Ik vind stamppot niet lekker. Ik vind het vies. Vies is a word that we use when we dislike something, when we find something yucky. It also means dirty. Vies is spelled as V-I-E-S. Okay, and vaak we've had before as well, which means often. And we eat often potato with meat and veggies. Seems pretty doable to me. Buiten is outside, but outside land is basically any type of land that's across the border. So more of foreign food, right? And geniet could be, it's harder to translate, but we translate it to enjoy. So I enjoy foreign food more as such. Okay, so these are sentences that you will find in the vocabulary list as well. And they're really like mainstream sentences, how we love to talk about food. Okay, that said, we're going into a luisteroefening. We gaan luisteren naar Lisa. Lisa en haar vriendin Amy. En Amy, Lisa komt Amy op straat tegen. En zij praten over eten. Ze gaan afspreken. En I'll play the audio 2 keer. Ik speel de audio 2 keer af. En jij mag deze 5 vragen beantwoorden. Vraag 1. Wat is genieten? Het woord genieten. If you paid attention, you already know this. 2. Wat vraagt, question mark, de vriendin van Lisa? Wanneer spreken Lisa en Amy af? Afspreken. Ontmoeten. Wat gaan ze eten? En om welke tijd spreken ze af? If there's any of the answers that you don't know, feel free to Google them, translate them. But I'm pretty sure we know what we're talking about. So let's get into the audio.
Hey, wat goed je te zien. Ja, lang niet gesproken. Hoe gaat het met je? Ja, goed. Lekker druk op het werk en genieten met mijn vriend. Wat fijn. Hey, heb je zin om binnenkort bij mij te eten? Goed idee. Kan je vrijdagavond toevallig? Ja, dan ben ik nog vrij. Waar heb je zin in? Nederlands eten is niet mijn ding. Houd jij ook van Chinees? Jazeker. Ik eet altijd graag een bami en wat lumpia's. Klinkt goed hoor. Hoe laat ben ik welkom? Kan jij om 6 uur? Ja hoor, dat lukt. Tot vrijdag. Tot vrijdag.
That's it. I will play it again. And then you can recheck your answers. And obviously the audio will be in the portal as well to really slowly learn. But I really want you to try to see if you can get this in twice listening, or you can rewrite the second audio and listen to the pieces again as you go along, because that's the advantage of having a recorded class. All right, de tweede keer.
Hey, wat goed je te zien. Ja, lang niet gesproken. Hoe gaat het met je? Ja, goed. Lekker druk op het werk en genieten met mijn vriend. Wat fijn. Hey, heb je zin om binnenkort bij mij te eten? Goed idee. Kan je vrijdagavond toevallig? Ja, dan ben ik nog vrij. Waar heb je zin in? Nederlands eten is niet mijn ding. Houd jij ook van Chinees? Jazeker. Ik eet altijd graag een bami en wat lumpia's. Klinkt goed hoor. Hoe laat ben ik welkom? Kan jij om 6 uur? Ja hoor, dat lukt. Tot vrijdag. Tot vrijdag.
Dat was het. Oké, laten we naar de antwoorden kijken. Vraag 1. Wat is genieten? From the previous slide, ik geniet is to enjoy. Oké, dus we kijken hier ook. Genieten met mijn vriend. So to enjoy with my partner, my boyfriend, which basically comes down to like, I'm just, enjoy my time that I have with my boyfriend. Oké, wat vraagt de vriendin van Lisa? Wat Lisa wilt eten, so what she wants to eat. Of Lisa bij haar komt eten. If Lisa wants to come eat at hers. En wat het favoriete eten van Lisa is. Of course, zij spreken af. En ze spreken af, heb je zin om binnenkort bij mij te eten? So do you feel like coming to eat at mine soon? Okay? En ze zegt, goed idee. So definitely B. Wanneer spreken Lisa en Amy af? I mean, I've added 2 of de vrijdagen, but it was up to you to realize, is het volgende week of vrijdagavond? Nou, hier staat vrijdagavond en if we just say vrijdagavond, dan is het deze week. Komende vrijdag. Ja, dan ben ik nog vrij. Dus B, vrijdagavond. Wat gaan ze eten? Je kan zeggen ze eten Chinees. Nou, dan is het niet C, maar het is bami en wat lumpia's. Lumpia's are like kind of the dumplings, like the Vietnamese dumplings kind of idea. And they're really yummy, actually. And bami is kind of, so this is a thing. So it's, you can't find this in China, but we love our bami and nasi. So nasi goreng is Indonesian. And you will find that the Chinese restaurants in the Netherlands will contain Indonesian and Chinese or a Chinese related version food. Bami is basically just noodles with veggies and some kind of meat, usually chicken. And then some Chinese sauce. That's it. So the noodles dish. Oké. En om welke tijd spreken ze af? Dat is om 6 uur. So dat is 6 uur. Again, we don't have to add the 6 uur 's avonds because we already established it's vrijdagavond. Okay, I hope that went well. If you had a different answer, then obviously read through this and see if you can understand why or what you've heard. There's no wrongdoing here, right? Like if you weren't able to understand it, you can re-listen and really get used to it. Over the weeks, I will upload more audios as well and songs and other things to listen to really immerse yourself in the Dutch language. The more you listen and hear Dutch, the better it will be for your understanding. Okay? All right. Now I want you to try and make sentences with these 3 words. I also encourage you to, and this is why I put 3 words, so 3 woorden, maak zinnen met 3 woorden. I challenge you to pick 3 words a day and make a sentence with it, right? So if you're going through these texts or through the vocabulary list, learn the word, especially the words that don't stick. See if you can make sentences with them as you go. Especially with like afspreken en boodschappen. Afspreken is a verb, so you can really go about, can I conjugate this verb as well, right? So I want you to pause the video, make some sentences, and I will give my own sentences for practice as well. So for example, afspreken is to meet, right? So I could say, I love to meet or I like to meet with my uncle. And good exercise, you can translate this sentence as well, apart from your own sentence. I'd like to meet with my uncle. So afspreken, we have to separate, as we've seen before. So use spreken to match with ik. Ik, take away N is spreek. Then we have to add the like, which is graag. And then with my uncle, met mijn oom af. You could add the of in between here as well. It's not too much of a trouble. Still grammatically correct. I'm doing it here because afspreken is the whole verb and I'd like to be consistent with second place and putting the rest of the verb at the end. Groenten, think about the color green, groen. Groenten are vegetables, okay? Think about a sentence, write it down. And my sentence would be, my favorite vegetables, plural, are zucchini and broccoli. It's actually not right. Maybe I should say my favorite vegetables are zucchini and capsicum or bell pepper. Let's see. So my favorite, my is mijn. Favorite is a Dutchified word. So we say favoriete. In this case, I'll explain in a sec why I add the E there. Groente is vegetable. To say vegetables, I actually have two options for this one. So this is kind of a unique situation. So you could just be like the English and add an S, or you could be like the Dutch and add an N, right? So it has two options here. And then we want to say R for plural, which is zijn. And then zucchini, as you might have learned already, is courgette, so like the British word or the French word. And I then said capsicum, bell pepper. So the taste of it is like paprika powder, right? So that's what we want to keep in mind. Done. All right, boodschappen. I hope you remember now that this is groceries. Okay, so you can either make a sentence with doing groceries or the groceries as a noun as such. So for example, I could even say, I do my groceries every Monday. I do. Ik doe my groceries. Mijn boodschappen. Every is elke and Monday is maandag. Good, to be consistent, put elke maandag here directly after the verb. Ik doe elke maandag mijn boodschappen. The reason why we can swap elke maandag with mijn boodschappen and keep it the same as English in this case is because doing the groceries is the act. So for us, it also makes sense to then put the boodschappen earlier in the sentence and then end with elke maandag. So these are sentences. So for this week, your challenge is, can I make multiple sentences by 3 words that I'm choosing? Or at least keep this kind of practice up the more you get involved in Dutch. Okay, even deze weer weghalen. On to our last exercise. Korte gesprekjes. So this is something that we will be practicing in the live classes as well. But I'm giving you situations now to really go and free flow a little bit. You might then, want to have the buddy or me or a family member or friend to correct you where possible, because the free flowing also means that, you're more inclined to make mistakes. But with the sentences that we had before today, you should be able to form some kind of answer. Okay? So, je hebt geen eten meer in huis. Wat zeg je tegen je partner? Geen eten in huis. Wat zeg je tegen je partner? Ik kan bijvoorbeeld zeggen, wil jij boodschappen doen? Ik kan zeggen, de pindakaas is op. Ehm, wil jij dit vanmiddag halen? Okay, there might be new words here like halen, but that's okay, right? So you can use the werkwoorden tool, the conjugator, to find new words. You are allowed 100% to translate words and make new sentences. Ergo, extend your vocabulary as you go. So think of a response to these ones. Je komt een vriendin tegen. Nodig haar uit voor te eten. Dus de vriendin komt eten bij jou, bij mij. Goed, zeg twee dingen. Ik kan twee dingen zeggen. Wil jij dit weekend bij mij eten? Of heb je zin, that we had before, om deze week bij mij te eten? Notice that I say here te, because if I just use will, which is considered one of the auxiliary verbs, one of the hulp verbs, I don't need to add the te. In this case, I do. Do you feel like to eat at mine this week? Good. En de laatste situatie. Hoe zeg je wat je lekker vindt als je bij jouw tante gaat eten? Je tante vraagt aan jou, oh, wil jij dit weekend bij mij eten? En je zegt, ja, dat is goed. En then, for her to decide wat jij wilt eten, dan kan je zeggen, ik vind, let me think, pannenkoeken heel lekker. En ik lust geen boerenkool met worst. So this is the kale with sausage. So this is also how we can refer to our stamppot. Lusten, as we discussed before, is when we don't like the taste of something, when we don't like something. You can recognize it by the use of word of geen. So I don't like the taste of kale with sausage, boerenkool met worst. The fact that the potato is in there, the mashed potato, is an understatement because we like potatoes. It's a given, kind of. So that is Dutch for you and some of the Dutch dishes as well. Okay, these situations are coming ahead in the live classes as well. For now, keep on practicing, focus on the vocabulary and exercises to really nail down your confidence and your wording. And I hope this exercise of today went really well for you. That is all for today. Dat is alles voor vandaag. Wij hebben gepraat over eten. Jij weet wat lekker is, wat niet lekker is, hoe iemand bij jou komt eten. En geen eten meer in huis. Boodschappen doen. Dat is alles. Tot de volgende les en tot de volgende keer. Doei!